Ladies and gentlemen, think for a moment. What if everything you've been taught about happiness is wrong? What if happiness isn't something to chase, but something to awaken to? Imagine, just for a second, waking up every morning with the certainty that you already have everything you need to be happy. Wouldn't that be the most liberating thought you could ever have? Now, I know what you're thinking. That's not possible. Happiness is something I need to work for, something I have to earn. But let me tell you this. What if you're looking in all the wrong places? What if happiness is not a destination but a way of seeing the world around you? Stick with me, and I'll reveal how you can wake up each day with a profound sense of peace, joy, and fulfillment. The truth is simpler than you've been told, and it's waiting for you right here, right now. Happiness, in its purest form, has often been portrayed as something to be attained, as though it exists somewhere outside of ourselves, waiting to be claimed. This perception, ingrained in our minds from an early age, shapes the way we live our lives, making us constantly chase after the idea that happiness is just around the corner, tied to some achievement, possession, or external condition. We are told that if we work hard enough, if we have the right job, the right partner, the right amount of money, happiness will follow. But here's the thing, this way of thinking creates an endless loop. We push forward, thinking happiness is a goal to be met, but each time we reach what we thought was the destination, we find ourselves still empty, still craving something more. And so we start over again, chasing the next goal, the next acquisition, and the cycle repeats. But the truth is far simpler than that. Happiness is not a distant, elusive prize to be earned. It is not something outside of you, hidden behind conditions you must fulfill. Instead, happiness is an internal state, a way of being that exists right here, right now, waiting for you to realize it. The illusion of happiness being a destination only arises from our tendency to look outward. We are conditioned to seek satisfaction in external things, whether it's the success we achieve in our careers, the approval we receive from others, or the material possessions we collect. We think, once I have that, I'll be happy. But no matter how many things we accumulate or how many milestones we pass, the feeling of fulfillment is often fleeting, and we're left seeking more. This constant chase blinds us to the truth that happiness doesn't depend on anything external. It depends on how we see and experience the world. In fact, happiness is a natural byproduct of living fully in the present moment, unburdened by the need for more. When we let go of the belief that happiness is something to be obtained, we make space to experience it in the here and now. Happiness is not a goal, but a way of being, a state of mind that can only emerge when we stop clinging to the belief that it's something to be chased or acquired. By changing the way we perceive happiness, by letting go of the illusion that it's something outside ourselves, we open ourselves up to the possibility that it's already within us, waiting to be discovered in the simplest of moments. The idea of living in the present moment is often easier said than done. We live in a world where our attention is constantly pulled in multiple directions, where we're bombarded with distractions that take us away from the here and now. We're trained to focus on what's coming next, the next task, the next goal, the next moment, rather than fully embracing the present one. And yet, the key to happiness lies precisely in being able to experience life as it unfolds in front of us, without rushing or trying to control it. Happiness cannot be found in the past, nor can it be found in some future ideal. It is only available in the present moment, the only moment we truly have. When we dwell in the past, we are often trapped in memories of regret, guilt, or longing. We replay moments that have already passed, wishing things had turned out differently or longing for times that can never return. When we focus too much on the future, we create anxiety and fear, imagining all the things that might go wrong, or chasing an elusive version of happiness that we believe will come only once we have achieved some far-off goal. Both past and future rob us of the only moment that truly exists, the now. Living in the present means embracing life as it is, without judgment or expectation. It means engaging with the world around you fully, without allowing distractions or worries to cloud your experience. It means listening to the sounds, noticing the colors, feeling the air on your skin. When we immerse ourselves in the present moment, we stop waiting for happiness to come from some future moment. We realize that happiness is not a destination, but a way of experiencing each and every moment as it comes. But this isn't about ignoring challenges or pretending that everything is perfect. It's about accepting what is. The present moment is not always easy. It might bring up difficult emotions or situations. However, by grounding ourselves in the present, we allow ourselves to experience the full spectrum of life, both the joys and the struggles, without attaching ourselves to the idea that happiness is dependent on anything outside of this moment. In fact, it's through this acceptance that happiness can naturally arise. When we stop resisting what is, we allow ourselves to experience life more deeply, and that depth is where true contentment lies. One of the greatest barriers to happiness is our attachment to things, whether it's possessions, relationships, or even our own identities. We live in a world that constantly encourages us to hold on tightly, to accumulate more, to define ourselves by what we own and who we are to others. We attach ourselves to outcomes, believing that once we achieve something, we will find happiness. But this attachment creates an endless cycle of desire and dissatisfaction. The more we grasp, the more we are bound by our attachments, and the harder it becomes to experience peace. Attachment, at its core, arises from a belief that we need something external to complete us. We might believe that a certain object or person will bring us the joy we seek, or that a particular outcome will give us the fulfillment we're craving. However, when we cling too tightly to these external sources, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Nothing in the external world is permanent. People change, possessions break, and circumstances shift. What happens when the thing we are attached to is taken away? Or what happens when the thing we thought would bring us lasting happiness no longer satisfies? We are left feeling empty, yearning for something to fill the space that was once occupied. To truly find happiness, we must learn to let go. Letting go does not mean abandoning what we love, but rather freeing ourselves from the need to control or possess. It means accepting that life is in constant flux and that nothing, not even our most cherished attachments, will last forever. When we let go of the need to cling to anything, we free ourselves from the constant cycle of craving and disappointment. We create space for the natural flow of life, where joy can emerge from the simple act of living rather than from holding on to anything. Non-attachment also allows us to experience a deeper connection with others. When we stop expecting people to fulfill all of our emotional needs, we can appreciate them for who they are, rather than for what they give us. We can love without the fear of loss, because we understand that true happiness comes from within and is not dependent on another person's actions. In this way, letting go of attachment creates freedom, not only for ourselves, but also for those around us. When we embrace life without the burden of attachment, we become more open to the richness of each moment, and in that openness, happiness can naturally arise. Gratitude has an extraordinary power to transform our experience of life. It's easy to fall into the trap of focusing on what we lack, what we wish we had, or what we think we deserve. We are constantly bombarded with messages telling us that we need more success, more possessions, more approval. And in doing so, we overlook the abundance that already surrounds us. We fail to recognize that happiness doesn't come from accumulating more, but from appreciating what we already have. When we shift our focus to gratitude, we open ourselves to a deeper sense of contentment, no matter what our circumstances may be. Gratitude changes our perception of the world. It shifts our attention away from what is missing and redirects it toward what is present. When we focus on what we have, our relationships, our health, our abilities, even the simple joys of everyday life, we begin to realize how much we've been given, and in that realization we find joy. The act of being grateful forces us to stop and take stock of the goodness in our lives, no matter how small. It could be a smile from a stranger, the warmth of the sun on our skin, or a simple moment of connection with a loved one. These moments, when noticed and appreciated, have the power to fill us with happiness. Gratitude also has the power to change the way we relate to challenges. Instead of seeing obstacles as burdens or problems to be avoided, We can view them as opportunities for growth and learning. When we approach life with an attitude of gratitude, even the most difficult experiences can become sources of strength. We become more resilient, more capable of handling adversity, because we are not focused solely on the difficulty itself, but on what we can learn and how we can grow from it. Gratitude allows us to see the silver linings even when the clouds seem overwhelming. Furthermore, practicing gratitude creates a ripple effect. When we express appreciation, not only do we enhance our own happiness, but we also uplift those around us. Gratitude is contagious. When others see us acknowledging and appreciating the good in our lives, it encourages them to do the same. In this way, gratitude not only enriches our own lives, but fosters a sense of connection and positivity in the world around us. By making gratitude a regular part of our daily lives, we can transform our perspective, cultivate happiness in the present, and create a more fulfilling existence. Life, in its essence, is not a rigid, linear progression towards some distant goal. It is a fluid, ever-changing dance that we are invited to join. Often, we approach life with a mindset that sees it as a series of obstacles to be overcome, as if happiness lies just beyond the next hurdle. We treat life as though it's something to be controlled, planned, and perfected, but in doing so, we miss the beauty of the dance itself. Life is not about reaching a destination, it's about engaging with the rhythm of existence, moving in harmony with its flow. When we resist the natural flow of life, we create friction. We become anxious, frustrated, and disillusioned, believing that we can impose our will on the world and that happiness will come once we have everything under control. But the truth is that life does not follow our plans. The more we try to control it, the more we become entangled in frustration and dissatisfaction. Life moves in its own rhythms, and the key to happiness lies not in struggling against those rhythms, but in learning how to dance with them. To dance with life is to let go of the need for certainty, to accept that things will unfold as they will, and to trust in the process. It is about embracing the unpredictability and the uncertainty of life, understanding that these elements are not obstacles, but integral parts of the dance. When we surrender to the flow, we allow ourselves to move with ease and grace, even through challenges. We stop fighting against the current and begin to float with it, responding to life's natural rhythms rather than trying to impose our own. This dance of life is also one of joy. When we stop worrying about the future or regretting the past, we can experience each moment for what it is. There is joy in every step, even the ones that feel uncertain or difficult. The key is to be fully present with what is happening right now, without the constant need to plan, fix, or change things. Life, in all its unpredictability, has a beauty that can only be appreciated when we stop trying to control it and simply allow ourselves to move with it. By letting go of the need to force life into a specific shape, we open ourselves up to the joy of spontaneous creation, of living in harmony with the natural flow of existence. Happiness doesn't come from reaching a specific point in the dance. It comes from engaging with each movement, each moment, with an open heart, embracing the fluidity of life as it is. Life is not something to be conquered. It is something to be danced with, fully and completely. And in that dance, we find the happiness we've been searching for all along. The idea of self of who we think we are is perhaps one of the most significant illusions that keeps us from experiencing true happiness. From an early age, we are taught to define ourselves by our roles, our achievements, and our possessions. We create an image of who we are based on societal expectations, family influences, and personal desires. We say, I am this person, or I am that person, and this self-image becomes the lens through which we experience the world. But this rigid attachment to the self is not only limiting, it is a barrier to experiencing life fully and freely. When we cling to a defined sense of self, we inevitably create boundaries, both for ourselves and others. We separate ourselves from the flow of life and from the people around us. believing that we are distinct, isolated beings. We build walls around our identity, creating a sense of separation that fosters fear, insecurity, and judgment. But in reality, this self is an illusion. The sense of being an independent, isolated entity is a construct of the mind, a story we tell ourselves to make sense of the world. When we examine this concept more deeply, we realize that the boundaries we place around ourselves are artificial. We are not separate from the world, we are an integral part of it. Our thoughts, feelings, and experiences are not separate from the universe, they are expressions of it. True happiness arises when we let go of this illusory sense of a separate self and realize our interconnectedness with all things. This doesn't mean losing individuality or abandoning personal identity. Rather, it means understanding that we are not isolated, independent entities. We are part of a greater whole. Our thoughts and emotions are interconnected with everything around us, the people, the environment, the universe itself. When we see ourselves as part of this larger flow, we can release the need to protect or defend the self. We stop seeing ourselves as separate from others and begin to experience a deeper sense of unity and connection. This understanding can be deeply liberating. When we let go of the need to hold on to a rigid, isolated sense of self, we free ourselves from the judgments, comparisons, and limitations that keep us stuck. We no longer define ourselves by our past mistakes or future aspirations. We are free to simply be, without the pressure to live up to some idealized version of who we think we should be. In this freedom, we discover a profound sense of peace and happiness. The ego, or the false self, no longer has control, and we can embrace life in its fullness without fear or attachment. By understanding that the self is an illusion, we step into a greater sense of oneness with the world, and in that oneness, true happiness emerges. In the end, happiness is not something we can chase, grasp, or attain by meeting external conditions. It is a state of being that emerges when we release the illusion of separation, when we stop measuring our worth by possessions, achievements, or external validation. True happiness lies in the present moment, in the simple act of being fully alive and engaged with life as it is. It emerges when we let go of attachment, when we appreciate what we already have, and when we dance with life rather than trying to control it. It comes when we realize that the self we cling to is only a fleeting construct, and that our true nature is far more expansive and interconnected than we could ever imagine. The path to happiness is not about reaching a distant goal or acquiring something we do not yet have. It is about waking up to the truth that happiness is always available to us, in every moment, when we choose to experience life fully, with acceptance, gratitude, and openness. The dance of life is not about perfection or control. It is about surrendering to the flow, embracing each moment, and realizing that the joy we seek is already within us, waiting to be uncovered. When we understand this, we stop chasing happiness and start living it. The key is not to seek happiness outside ourselves, but to awaken to the happiness that has always been within, quietly waiting to be realized.